Hi everybody, my name is Kathryn Gomes and I am the author of the Apologia math series, and I'm going to be talking today about what to do when you hit a math roadblock, okay? Your kid's stuck, they're confused, they're frustrated. What should you do? So I'm excited to give you some practical tips and some troubleshooting today on how to help get your child unstuck. I get sort of these SOS messages all the time because I'm the math person at my co-op, and I know many of you on Instagram and on my Facebook page, and it's like, my kid's stuck, what do we do? We've been working on this same thing, so many different ways. Sometimes it's 3-digit subtraction with regrouping. That one's a toughie. Sometimes it's long division, fractions. Sometimes it's a topic that you think is so simple, but your child isn't getting it. So what do you do? And a lot of times parents want to know, should we move on or should we just muscle through it? That seems to be like the $1 million question. So if you've ever wondered that, you can give me a shout out in the comments. I feel like that is the tough question. All right, well, I have five things for you to try that I think can make things a lot better. And I am going to talk to you about the whole issue of moving on versus sticking it out. But I would love to know in the comments where you're joining me from, and also if there's a particular math roadblock that you're dealing with right now, feel free to pop that in there. I can try to give you some practical, specific pointers right now, or I can circle back. All right, so without any further ado, here's 5 things you can do when your child is stuck. The first suggestion is that you should de-escalate the emotions. De-escalate the emotions. What do I mean by that? Well, when your child is confused in math, they're not getting it. Most kids are experiencing anger and sometimes tears, they're crying. They might be saying things like, I'm stupid, I don't get it, I'm never gonna get it. All of that negativity has come in because of this ongoing struggle. And then the other issue too is as parents, we bring a lot of emotion to the table as well. I know for me, I can be like, oh my goodness, we're homeschooling, you have to learn this, I bought this expensive book, is this not the right fit? Or whatever, is this the wrong program that I chose for you? And I can bring all of my feelings to the table as well. Well, there's obviously an emotional side to that and a spiritual side to that. I'm just gonna talk to you about the cognitive side of it, the educational side of it. And that is that when your child is angry or afraid, they are not going to be able to learn new material well. So what happens is, in our brains, if we feel unsafe or if we're mad, our brains kind of lock down and we do not absorb new information. You've probably experienced this, right? When you're really upset, it's hard to remember things and it's definitely hard to process new information. So for no other reason than just the learning, you've got to bring that emotion down. And if you keep trying to just plow ahead and your child's mad or you're having some friction in your relationship over this, it's just not gonna work. So I have a couple suggestions on how you can do that, but I think even just hearing that and knowing oh yeah, my first priority is to bring the emotions down will help you. One thing I do when I learned this is a really small thing, is if I'm sitting next to my kids and they're starting to have trouble with something, I just rub their back or give a little hug. It's not even verbal, just sort of showing them I'm here for you, I'm your mom, I love you whether you can learn this or not. I know you can learn it, but you're not unsafe in this situation. You're okay, right? I'm here for you. A sort of a bigger suggestion that I often give is if you're in that emotional lockdown, take a week off from that topic, take a break from the book and that chapter, and just play some math games, okay? So we're not gonna just know math for a week. That's never the answer. I love math, we don't wanna do that. And you don't wanna teach your kids that if you get mad and frustrated, you get a week off. That's not a good solution. But taking a break, okay, we're gonna stop chapter 8 that has just been difficult for all of us. We're gonna play some math games, sharpen our skills. Everybody's gonna kind of, right? Even you as the mom or the homeschool parent, okay, we don't have to do that tomorrow. And then when we come back, hopefully things will kind of okay. All right, so that's my first suggestion. And these other suggestions I'm gonna give you will also hopefully help bring the negative emotions down. We want to decrease those negative emotions. We also want to show our kids that math can be fun, that they can be successful. If they have a quick win and they get some right answers, that goes against those negative emotions they were feeling. Okay, my second suggestion is to move backwards on the progression of concrete, pictorial, abstract. So that was a mouthful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show it to you because it'll be a lot easier. So we're going to move backwards on the progression. So let me just flip my camera around because this is one of those things that, like, if I show you, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know what she means. Just give me a second. Oops. All right, hopefully you're not too dizzy. Sorry about that. So I'm gonna show you what I mean in the second grade book with 3-digit subtraction. I had a mom messaging about this today. Her child is stuck on 3-digit subtraction with regrouping, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a real one, right? Has anyone ever been struggling with that? Okay, so when you teach a new idea in mathematics, the progression you want to use is you want to start with something concrete. These are base 10 blocks, all right? Let me make sure you can see these. These are like my absolute best friend. I love these guys. This is 100, this is 10, and these are ones. I just have 10 of them grouped together. See that? Okay, so super concrete, all right? So the first time I teach a child how to subtract is we actually like build the number, like, okay, you have 220, all right, subtract 110, and they're actually like taking things away. You see what I'm saying? Concrete, all right? After they've like played with blocks and they've done it concretely, then we teach it to them using pictures, all right? You can see in the book here some of the pictures, drawings. Kids are crossing things out, all right? Only after they've used something concrete and they've done something pictorial, only then do we show them the abstract math, okay? So this is just straight up math symbols, and they're just doing the math on the page. So if your child is stuck, all you're gonna do is move back 1 or 2 steps on the progression. So let's say that they are stuck on a problem like this. They, on a separate sheet of paper, because they wouldn't have room, they could actually draw the blocks, okay? Or they could actually model it with these blocks, all right? I'll show you, I have an example here so that you know what I'm talking about. Like here's subtracting across zeros. This is pretty tough. 300 take away 193. Like, okay, we're gonna build it because you're not sure what to do. That's 300. All right, you have to take away 193. Well, what are you gonna have to do first? This is gonna have to be regrouped as 9 10s and 10 1s. Do you see how concrete this is? All right, now take away 193. Okay, 193. And you get the answer, all right? Most kids are gonna push back on you and they're not gonna wanna do the blocks for everything because they're saying, oh, the blocks take too long. That's okay, just tell them to draw or use the blocks for 1 or 2 and then see if they can do some without them. But the bigger idea there is that you're moving back to something concrete. You're using the beans again, or you're drawing a picture to make it a little more, a little easier for your child. All right, so de-escalate the emotions, move backwards on the progression. Just real quick with this one, this has helped me so much when I'm teaching my son. I just have linking cubes nearby, and if he starts to flounder, we just kind of grab those. It always helps me just to think about like, okay, can I make this concrete again? Could we draw a picture? That kind of thing. All right, my third suggestion is to give your child the answers. I know this, you're like, what? Give them the answers? What do I mean? Let me just clear this out so I can show you. All right, so one of the issues when your child is struggling with math is that they're experiencing a little bit of anxiety probably about whether or not they're going to be able to do it. And then that anxiety keeps them from remembering the answer, okay? So I want to show you one thing I did for my son. He was having some trouble with subtraction facts. These are tricky, like 15 minus 8 and those type of things. So what I did is I decided to give him the answers. I wrote, for his skills practice that day, I wrote a whole bunch of facts, and then I wrote the answers, and then he just had to connect. Do you see that? So he was kind of excited, like, oh, the answer's there, but also he used process of elimination. That's fine with me, all right? I knew he was gonna go for like 6 minus 6 first, and that's his easy win. He knew that one. And then he had that confidence to keep going. So this is giving them the answers with subtraction. Here's another one from like first grade. We were doing fishing for tens, and he was a little rusty on his tens facts. So I just gave him this, commonly referred to as a cheat sheet. If you don't want to call it a cheat sheet, a reference sheet, okay? I just put this next to him right there. And the first time we played, he looked at it. The second time we were playing fishing for tens, I told him to flip it over like this and just check it if he needed it. And then, you know, by like the third game, we weren't using it. These work at all different grade levels. Like if you're working with like multiplication and division, you could do a times table, okay? Just kind of give it to your child at first to kind of build a step for them. And then you can sort of gradually take it away with that whole like flip over and that type of thing. But you're decreasing their anxiety and making it less of a jump so that they can get there. I love these guys. I did this all the time when I taught high school, because what I noticed that was so cool is I'd let the kids use a reference sheet. So then the kids who struggled with having math anxiety would feel more confident, and a lot of the kids didn't even look at them. It just was like knowing they had it, okay? Let me see what else I had here to show. Oh yeah, I wanted to show this. Okay, I have a long division example. Anybody working on long division? Ugh, right? It's such a beast. It's so long. All right, so I am working on the higher levels now, so I've been thinking about this. So this is one idea I came up for long division. You write out a problem, and then you take Post-its, and you cover up some of the digits. You can make this as hard or as easy as you want by what you cover up. And then your child has to guess what's under the Post-it. So much less overwhelming because they don't have to do the long division, okay? And there's an easy win here, like, oh, the remainder's 1, like that's right there. But some of them are a little like, oh, what goes there? Like some of them are a little harder. I like this one. Another one that's fun, this is gonna be in, I think level 4, level 5, is I have long division problems where I cut it in strips and the kids have to put the strips in order. But still, just making it a little less like that they have to do the whole problem. One other tip on this one I wanted to show, this is for the parent who told me her child's having trouble with subtracting across zeros. So here's, make sure you can see this. So here's 300 take away 193, right? And the hard part here is every kid wants to do like 3 take away 1 is 2, and then they're stuck. One thought is you can actually draw arrows, like graphic organizers help a lot. So sometimes I put like an arrow for kids over the ones to remind them to start there. But right, you have to like regroup, like, okay, so 9 10s, 10 1s, right? So another strategy, you're probably looking at this, like, what's she doing? This is a different problem that has the same answer, okay? So one strategies that mathematicians use is called solve a simpler problem. So you can't rewrite this as this. That doesn't make mathematical sense. But we know that 300 take away 193 is going to have the same answer as 299 take away 192, because this is 1 less and this is 1 less. And then look at this, no regrouping. I mean, haven't you just like died and gone to heaven? All right, I just had to show you that because it's like just makes me so happy. Okay, let me flip this back around. Thanks for bearing with me on all those. Okay. All right. So we're going to de-escalate the emotions, right? That's the first thing. We're going to move backwards on the progression. So if your child's stuck, you're going to get them something concrete for that idea. Concrete is easier, K to 3. It gets a little trickier with like 4th and 5th, but send me a comment if you need some ideas. And you're going to give them the answers, whether it's like a reference sheet or something that has the answers there and they just connect. I do that all the time in the Apologia math books. One of my favorite ways of giving kids the answers is I have them match things. So they'll like cut out cards and then they just like put them like the answer next to the problem. Here, I'll show you. I'm like talking about it easier just to show you. Like this, okay? So these are word problems. Those are really tricky. So to make it easier, they just have to match the card to the word problem. We do that a lot because in Apologia Math, because it alleviates the handwriting and it gives kids the answers right on the page. See, here's another one. Match the repeated addition with the array, okay? It just really scaffolds it for them. Oh, here's another one I love. 4 different forms of the same number. You just match these. You know, another way I do this in the books, like the first and the second, well, actually all the books, is with the codes and the coloring pages. So one of the main reasons I put lots of codes and coloring pages and things like that in the math books is because kids love them. Like kids will like do problems just to get to those. But the other reason is if they're doing like a math facts coloring page and they get an off color, they kind of like self-correct. And that helps them like, wait, the sky shouldn't be purple, right? And it kind of helps them. All right, another tip, and notice this is number 4, okay? So I didn't say it first, but sometimes it is okay to move on, Now I debated saying this because you definitely don't wanna just like throw in the towel, like they're stuck, they're confused, that's it, it's summertime, forget it. But I've noticed time and time again where a parent will say to me, like, we were so stuck, right? And then either they moved on and it came back around later in the year, or like they hit the summer and then when they came back to that topic the next school year, they're like, they get it, like it clicked, I don't understand. Well, here's what I think happens. Sometimes when you take that break, kids, their emotions calm down so they don't have all that negative emotions, but they also just needed a little more time to process it. And then when they come back to it fresh, it clicks, okay? So sometimes if you're really stuck, it might be a good idea to move on to something else with the idea, you as the parent, they're like, we do need to circle back to that. So I was just thinking about this in the first grade book. The last unit is geometry. This is where we are right now. It's so much fun. It's all this color. I know this is backwards, but at least you can see like the color and the shapes. And the reason I was thinking about this is the geometry unit doesn't necessarily, it's not based on the other units. You know what I mean? You didn't have to master the addition to be able to do geometry. So if your child was stuck somewhere else, you could jump ahead to geometry, just have some fun with shapes and color and something totally different, just sort of like refresh your mathematical spirit and then go back. You see what I'm saying? Like a little break like that, okay? Or sometimes, you know, you are getting close to the summer and you say, we are gonna leave that, but we're making a note that when we come back to the next school year, we need to circle back to that and see if we can, you know, plug in that gap. Okay, my last recommendation is to pray. And this is the only one that doesn't have to happen in order. I think you should do this the whole way through. So obviously from a spiritual perspective, it's always good to pray and it's always good to remember that we need God's help in all things, right? I'm always sort of changed when we pause to pray because I'm like, that's right, I need help like teaching these kids, being kind, explaining this well. It reminds them that they need God's help and also that even like mundane things like learning math is an opportunity to glorify God and it matters to him. It's not like a small deal to him. You know, he's pleased when we work hard in math and we are joyful and all those things. But also, at an educational side, prayer really helps your brain like calm down and all that anxiety and anger, like you can use prayer, right, to do that, get rid of those negative emotions and just remember like it's okay. We're just going to try our best. We're going to ask God to help us. Let's ask his Holy Spirit to give us peace. And it can be just the absolute game changer that you need. All right, well, those are my tips. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for joining me. And